Welcome. Not long ago, very knowledgeable, Mr. Duncan Baker wrote to me, "The product is nothing without stability and reliability." That has been our guiding principle for many years. It echoes louder than ever before. A boring server is a fantastic server because it's boring, it doesn't crash, it doesn't slow down, it simply works. That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. My name is Lucy Chen. Together with me is our senior software engineer, Zhonghan Li. We are going to take you under the hood for FileMaker Server and WebDirect 2025 release. We're going to cover server-led FileMaker platform improvement for 2025. We'll have an overview of FileMaker architecture block diagram. Then Zhonghan will walk into the details of features and demos for server and WebDirect. Finally, we'll have Q&A. FileMaker architects Clay and Wade are all in this room today. We'll answer all your questions. Have you ever wondered how your data flow within FileMaker? Let's take a quick look. There are several ways for a user to perform data transaction. You use FileMaker Pro, FileMaker Go, web browser, custom apps to send the request into server. FileMaker Pro, FileMaker Go send directly into FileMaker Server. The rest send the request into web server reverse proxy inside server to start the process. Next is authentication. You can either use FileMaker native built-in Draco account or use OAuth 2 with OIDC to enable external authentication. I highly recommend that you use multi-factor authentication for added security. Draco handles access control. Next is data processing. Everything happens inside the magic Draco engine. So we have FM engine, DB engine, support. The recent architectural change is HTTPS WebSocket tunneling, where FileMaker Pro, Go, WebDirect can connect directly into server safely and securely without going through TCP port 5003. WebD Data API OData can also do data transaction. WebD with Tomcat serves web requests. Data API with Node.js serves RESTful requests. We are OData 4.01 compliant. 2025 release, we support OData aggregations. All responses are delivered back to the same path they came in. So FileMaker Server delivers back to Pro and Go the response. The rest will go through the same web server reverse proxy. For Mac, it's Apache. For Windows, we use IIS, and Ubuntu, we use Nginx as web server reverse proxy. One thing to note here is HTTPS tunneling use also Nginx as reverse proxy. FileMaker Pro, Go, web browser, custom app, get their response. Data transaction complete. This is the FileMaker high-level architecture block diagram. If you have any questions of all these boxes, ask Clay and Wade, they're all here. Let's talk about 2025 features. FileMaker Pro and Go. We optimized JSON cache. You can cache the parsed JSON structure in DB data to avoid reparsing over and over and over. This improves the performance. Clay talked about this yesterday. Ask Clay if you have questions. We upgraded to the most recent open source Antlr for SQL parsing. It improves the SQL parser, especially in handling Unicode and SQL syntax. It significantly improved the execute SQL and execute SQL e-calculation functions. And you notice the enhancement between LLM and SQL interactions. OData aggregation. Just like spreadsheet, you can simply group and summarize data with functions like sum, average, and max. We have a brand new script step called Go to List of Records. You can retrieve and navigate to a specific set of records based on their IDs, like table of content of a book. You can go to the chapter directly, in this case is record. Folders for custom functions. We enhanced the custom functions organization folder, very similar to the script folders and the layout folders. In the script workspace, you can expand and collapse the script control structure along with a toggle column view on both Mac and Windows. We have hover state support for FileMaker Go. We added the system hover effect for all FileMaker layout objects. This works on iOS, iPadOS with the pencil, the Apple Pencil, and as well as Vision OS. Download the ETS, it's all there. Have a look. Now, FileMaker Server. Server 2025 runs on Ubuntu 24, 22, along Mac OS and Ubuntu and Windows. So since 5 years, probably, we've been delivering Ubuntu consistently for server product. This gives you fast, cost-effective deployment alternative. So for both on-premise and private cloud hosting, just like expanding 2-lane road of Mac and Windows, we add a 3rd lane that is Ubuntu Express. Now let's talk about admin console improvement. Let's Encrypt. Last year we released Let's Encrypt for macOS and Ubuntu. This year we added Windows. And we have new UI for easier certificate management. We integrated ACME LW library to eliminate third-party tools. And we give you port 80 for enhanced security. So you can automatically renew these certificates in the system schedule or manually renew with admin API. So renew certificate with the Let's Encrypt in this release. It's simpler and more secure. Flash database in admin console, admin API. FileMaker Flash database during idle time in frequency of seconds. Per your request, we added Flash database manual option in admin console and admin API. So your admin can flash at any time. WebDirect. We scaled up to 1,000 concurrent users last year. This year, we added right-click context menu support for access common functions quickly and intuitively. Custom home page can be configured in the admin console for quick access. This is from the improvement of custom home URL. Back button warning. So a prompt appears when you click the arrow for going back in the browser. So it prevents accidental data loss. All right, so next let's talk about PSR, FileMaker performance, scalability, and reliability. 2025 server, we improved the server with dispatch queue. So dispatch queue improves the performance for script engine and DB server. For script engine improvement, we use dispatch queue replace creating a thread for PSOS requests. This improves performance and scalability. We fixed the memory leak bug in PSOS from the leaking thread. This improves the reliability. For server, for DB server, server sending thread pool improvement. We use dispatch queue replace the legacy thread pool, which has a hard-coded of a maximum of 100 threads to reduce reliability. Server using OmniOrb thread pool for incoming connections. OmniOrb thread pool is totally different from the legacy thread pool, by the way. OmniOrb thread pool replaces the thread affinity for better scalability and concurrency requests. Streaming cache optimization. We replace the ordered map with hash table for higher throughput and therefore improve the performance. For security, we use OpenSSL.org guideline to improve security with OpenSSL 3.3. Zhonghan is going to get into more details. Before that, let me give you an overview of AI. What we are doing for AI. This is going to prepare you for the next 2 sessions. All FileMaker AI features are done through script steps and calculation functions. We've done so many of them, we can categorize into 2 parts. First, create natural language queries for FileMaker solution. Second is embedding vectors with FileMaker solutions. So 3:30, this room, Wade and Derek will get into details for that. Part 1, natural language query for FileMaker solution. We have about 6 things to highlight. First, perform SQL query by natural language. This is a script step. It specifies the table occurrences and relationships so that LLM can generate SQL queries for FileMaker with debugging options so you can do troubleshoot. Second is App Assistant. It's an add-on based on the first script step. Perform SQL query by natural language. You can customize both UI and JavaScript. Number 3, generate response from model. We use the agentic approach to give you flexibility and full control to manage prompt engineering, conversation memory, full calling, function calling tool. We have 3 function calling tools for 2025 release. They are SQL, image, and custom functions. Of the top 3, generate response from model gives you more flexibility and control than the first, perform SQL query by natural language and App Assistant. Number 4, I can't wait for you guys to try that and come back next year. Perform find by natural language. It sends layout information to an LLM, which then generate search and sort criteria. So you and your customers can search without the need to know the exact field name or the search criteria. For example, your sales department want to know the top 10 deals for the quarter. With Perform Find by natural language, anybody in the sales team can type in, show me top 10 deals for the quarter. So Perform Find by natural language, understand the request, go into FileMaker to find the right records and come back with the list. That's Perform Find by natural language. Next is open source model server. We support open source model, OpenAI, Cohere, and Anthropics. This script step manages the models on admin console, so you can load sentence transformer, fine-tune an open source model. The biggest advantage is privacy. You do not need to send any of your business secret to third-party website LLMs. Fine-tune model with LoRa. It trains base model with your own data, then open source model with LoRa fine-tune a subset of parameters that is reduced parameters, so you can save computation time. It's a big deal today. These are the natural language queries. Now part 2. Integrating embedding vectors with FileMaker solutions. Last year, we released semantic search for text, semantic search for image content, and semantic search remote. This year, we improved semantic search. We allow you to store images and vectors in different tables and even different files to improve faster data retrieval and get quicker response time. So semantic search for 2025 release is just faster. We support vector math, so your developers can do operations like addition, subtraction, and normalization for advanced data analysis. Regression with random forest algorithm. You can train embedding vectors with random forest algorithm, then use predict from model to use these vectors already trained and to calculate the value for regression analysis. So regression is prediction, so you can make data-driven predictions for your customers. Retrieval augmented generation, RAG. RAG can read PDF files and text within an open source server, and then you can generate a document without hallucination. If it doesn't know, it'll tell you, I don't know. Get text from PDF. It extracts PDF file content and put it into FileMaker so you can do further processing. There's a lot of things we've done for AI. Go to the 3 o'clock session. You'll find a lot more. But one thing I want to say here is, with the stability and reliability of our platform at the core, AI strengthens the platform by helping you developers to create stronger features for your solutions. So your customers can get answers without digging through FileMaker system. With that, let's go to the stability and reliability part. We are going to have Zhenghan Li talk about server and WebDirect. Zhenghan, there you go. Here. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Lucy. Hello, everyone. My name is Zhenghan Li. Today, I'm going to showcase some major updates on server and WebDirect in the release 2025. The first update is the upgrade of Antlr library. So as Clay mentioned yesterday, FileMaker Server uses Antlr as a SQL statement parser. The Antlr was outdated in the previous releases, so we upgraded to version 4.13.2 in release 2025. This version has not improved performance, better Unicode handling, and more comprehensive support for syntax and grammars. Here are some examples of the SQL statements that were not fully supported in the previous releases, but are fully working in Server 2025. The first two examples show the support for new SQL functions. The third one shows the support for the new SQL operator, and the fourth one shows the support of Unicode characters. So this is about the SQL statement improvement. The next update is the Let's Encrypt improvements. So Acme is a lightweight C++ library designed for certificate management for Let's Encrypt certificates. We integrated into our FAC onboarding workflow in this release to provide a streamlined user experience to create and update certificates. The new workflow is supported on all platforms, including Mac OS, Ubuntu, and Windows. So we also add an admin API to support on-demand certificate request and renewal. And because Let's Encrypt certificates expire after 90 days, we provide a system script that allows customers to create schedules for automatic certificate renewal. There's also an option in the new onboarding workflow that creates the schedule for you in the default frequency of 60 days. We leverage the SMTP infrastructure to send out email notifications for certificate renewals. And finally, please note that port 80 is needed for the very first time of the certificate request.
Port 80 inbound or outbound?
Inbound.
Inbound.
Got it.
So now let's take a look at the new workflow, onboarding workflow. When you log into the FAC for the first time after server installation, you'll see the second option to request the Let's Encrypt certificate. So first, you provide your domain name and check whether you can test. You can validate whether it's if the domain name is valid or not. Once the check is passed, there's a toggle to create the schedule for automatic certificate renewal. And the email is optional if you want to get notifications. And then you can request for the Let's Encrypt certificate. Once it's issued, you can close the dialog to complete the onboarding workflow. And please remember to restart your server in order to get the new certificate up and running. And the next update is the server-side connection thread improvements for stability, scalability, and reliability. For thread improvements, we resolved some performance issues in this release by the integration of the dispatch queue into our server components. So you might wonder, what is a dispatch queue and what kind of performance issue we want to address? The dispatch queue is a low-level implementation of thread management data structure developed by Apple for task executions. Some of you might be familiar with Grand Central Dispatch, also known as GCD, which also built on top of the dispatch queue. The dispatch queue has native support on iOS and Mac OS. It is open sourced, so it has been ported to Linux as well. In addition, we implement a wrapper in order to support it on Windows by leveraging Microsoft's native thread pool. So this is all about the dispatch queue. For the problem we try to resolve in this release, our data server periodically loops through all the connections, sending push notifications when the open database gets updated, as well as tickling messages to age out client connections. We use a mutex to ensure that all the connections are not changed by other threads when to avoid race conditions. We also employ a sending thread pool with a maximum 100 threads to prevent server from creating too many threads and exhausting the system resources when the amount of connection is large. But this strategy introduced a live lock problem. When the thread pool is exhausted in a busy system, the looping thread holding the connection mutex must wait for the threads to be returned to the pool before it can continue its iteration tasks. Meanwhile, all other connections waiting for the mutex stay blocked until the loop is completed. So, this is not a deadlock. However, it still slows down the system significantly. So we resolved this issue in this release by replacing the legacy sending thread pool with a dispatch queue, so tasks can be processed more efficiently without manual thread management. Similarly, our script engine creates new threads to process incoming PSOS requests. And the integration of a dispatch queue not only improves the performance, but also fixes a legacy memory leak in the previous releases where threads were not properly destroyed when they were done. For connection improvement, we made a change in the OmniOb configuration to enforce thread pool mode over thread affinity to process concurrent calls from a connection. So, the OmniOb pool mode is different from the sending thread pool mentioned earlier. With the thread pool mode enabled, the response time can be improved when a connection is making multiple calls simultaneously, where some of the calls are complicated and taking longer time to complete. So the improvement is even more obvious on WebDirect secondary machines. All right, so finally, I want to show you guys some UI improvements in WebDirect. The first one is the custom context menu. So WebDirect used to show browser built-in context menu with many irrelevant options that are not helpful, but also confusing to our customers. So in this release, we create the custom context menu only for WebDirect. This demo shows that the new context menu works well with all types of fields, including edit box, drop-down, pop-up, drop-down calendar, and concealed edit box. The next improvement is the support of on-layout keystroke and on-object keystroke script triggers. So this feature is implemented and enabled by default in WebDirect. You can disable it in the JWPC config file. So both script triggers can be set up in Pro and then be used in WebDirect right away. So this demo shows that we set up an on-object keystroke trigger to close a card window. So now in WebDirect, you can open the card window and close it by escape keystroke. All right, cool. And this demo shows that both triggers work well together. So the field on the left have both triggers enabled. When you make a keystroke, you can see that both triggers got executed in the order of on-object keystroke first, and then on-layout keystroke. The field on the right only has on-layout keystroke enabled. So when you make a keystroke, only on-layout keystroke gets fired. All right, finally, this demo shows that both triggers can work not only on the main layout, but also on the card window. Cool, that's about the script triggers improvement. The next one is the custom homepage configurations via FAC and admin API. So custom homepage configurations are added into FAC in this release. You can see that custom homepage is disabled by default. You can also verify that in the config file. So when you make a change, like if you enable it in FAC, the change takes place right away. So if you refresh the config file, you can see that it gets enabled. So the custom home URL is empty by default. You can edit it in FAC and save it. But this change requires a WP restart. So, FAC will handle that for you. So you just need to wait a little bit until WP is restarted. So once the restart is done, you can see the custom home URL in both FAC and in your config file. So now you can go to your custom homepage and log into a database. Once you log out from the database, you'll be redirected back to your custom homepage instead of the WebDirect native launch center. The custom homepage configurations can also be modified by admin API. So we start everything from scratch. Again, it is disabled by default. So you can use admin API to get the current status. When you enable it, the change is reflected in the configuration file as well as the response body of the admin API. So now we try to disable it by admin API. The change will take place right away. So in both FAC and the config file. You can also edit the custom home URL by FAC as well. This also requires a WPA restart, and admin API handles that for you as well. Okay, I wish I could quick forward the restart, but we just need to wait a little bit. Okay, when the restart is done, and now the change, yeah, you can verify the change in FAC and the config file. The last improvement in WebDirect is the back button warning. So a lot of you might be hitting the back button by accident and then lose all your data you are just working on. So in this release, we implement the back button warning by piggybacking browser's default behavior when you click on the back button. So browser will show a warning dialog that allows users to choose whether to stay or leave the page when there's a potential of data loss. And because this is the browser behavior, so please note that if the user has not interacted with the web application, meaning that there's no risk of data loss, the browser would just skip that warning dialog and just go back to the previous page. All right, that's all I have for today. Thank you guys for joining. Now let's get back to Lucy.
All right. Now let's get into Q&A. The first thing I want to talk about is the Error 9 bug that a lot of you have experienced. I want to explain, we got this before Christmas. Clay worked very hard to get a dev build we sent to targeted customers before Christmas. In January, we released our dark release for targeted customers. Then we released it in 21.1.3 last week, along with a few other things. So I want to have Clay explain a bit here. I'm going to turn it on for you.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, a lot of things being called as error code 9, and there's actually multiple different issues that have been going on. The one that we fixed in the Stark release back was based with the was part of the security issues that Apple found with us. So we made the server a lot more stricter. But we found out that there's some strange edge conditions where we actually had to loosen the restrictions up a little bit more to allow clients to talk, because they were doing operations which, I mean, if we force everyone to use version 21, then we could have probably maybe left it the way it was. But we had to loosen the restrictions up so that older versions could still use the same protocol that they were using before. See what else she says here. And then there's been other, and it kind of exploded in a way that everyone was blaming everything on this one error. But there's been some other issues that have been fixed with the caching and how indexing is working, and those have been fixed too. And there's still one more thing that we're looking at right now with permissions and how they're processed internally in the code that we can't reproduce at home, but or at work and stuff like that. But we've been having some great discussions with different customers here at this thing, and Wade and I have a lot more ideas of what to check out and what to do now. And we may give them special builds to spit out information so we can try to figure out what actually is happening, since we can't find anything with any of our test cases. So I think that's where we are on this point.
Thank you, Clay. We have Clay and Wade are all here, and we can answer negative questions. Here you go.
I have two questions. First is, you mentioned that you're improving the JSON caching
It's something that I've been wondering about as far as WebDirect as well. When WebDirect is calling, for example, a complex SVG or something for rendering images by ID, and it relates to as well the question about JSON caching, but obviously at a different level. How is that managed? Like, what's the trigger for certainly for JSON to be refreshed once it's cached? How does it know when to go and get a new JSON object?
Well, all this stuff I talked.
Sorry,
Yeah, all the stuff I talked about yesterday is all within the calc engine. It has nothing to do with any of these other places where JSON's moving around. I mean, WebDirect, that's all going through a Java processor and stuff like that. So I'm not sure actually how much JSON is actually moving back and forth between WebDirect back and forth. I think there's other payloads that are going back and forth, but that's all under our control. And I mean, a lot of the WebDirect fixes that were done in the previous release was managing the caches of the JavaScript, really, not the JSON. There's a bunch of problems where we were sending down a lot more JavaScript and not caching it locally and regenerating it over and over again. Gotcha. So those were other, something that starts with the word Java and caching, but not necessarily JSON versus JavaScript versus Java there's a whole bunch of series of different caching stuff. But all the stuff, the new stuff that I talked about yesterday is really just about the calc engine inside the Draco engine.
Great. You should keep that mic.
Oh, okay.
There. There's a mic. Yeah. There you go. Thank you.
So we sometimes get an issue with FileMaker Server where we're not able to close a database, and then we're not sure how to cleanly shut down FileMaker Server. The feature you had on the slide where you can flush the cache at any point in time with an admin call, is that a good way to safely close a file that won't close on server admin without going through a long consistency check afterwards? And if not, is there some recommended best practice to follow when a FileMaker Server database will not close cleanly?
I guess like turning on the persistent cache stuff will regenerate the file pretty quickly without having to do anything new with it. This closing file issue, I think 2 weeks ago, I think we got some new information that we think we know what's going on. It's an interaction between the FileMaker data API and the server itself, which we're still having a hard time, but at least we know the area, what we're looking at now. And I think Masal's got a reproducible case of it now. So we should finally figure out what's going on with that now. But I believe if you're not using the data API, you should probably never run into this issue. It looks like it's an interaction with it. When you start shutting down and like there's still a long running data API request going on. So one way to make sure you can, if you want to do it manually and stuff like that is, kill the FileMaker data API first, kill that process, turn that thing off. It doesn't always help, for some reason on some OSs it seems to hang on to files, and we still don't quite understand what's going on in the OS and stuff like that. But at least we know the area that we're looking at now to figure out what's actually going on there.
We have a question here. The mic is coming to you.
I don't think I need a mic.
Okay.
So my question is, will we ever have an opportunity to enable more verbose or even debug logging for FileMaker Server processes? Just so that because we do a lot of hosting stuff and it's very helpful often for us to, even if we can't see the source code, see kind of more information about what's going on.
The question was asking about turning on more debugging information or more logging stuff. I mean, there are a series of flags there, but some of it is all these just, hex codes and stuff like that, you wouldn't know what they are and stuff like that. So we don't tell people about that stuff. We usually tell specific customers to turn that stuff on and send us the log so we can interpret it. It would have to be more of a work effort to come up with logs that, anyone can look at and figure out, which I assume is probably what you want. You probably wouldn't want just a bunch of codes with numbers after them and you having to try to figure out what that actually means.
Well, I'm not necessarily referring to like specific errors even, just kind of like a running commentary of what's happening.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about too. So, there's a flag you can turn on that spits out all the remote calls that are going back and forth, but it's very obscure what you're seeing, and it's really tough to even map that things back to actually what FileMaker is doing and stuff like that. Now we understand, well, not everyone in development understands them, but there is a number of us that understands those logs and do that. But either coming out with the documentation or going through all the logging and figure out how to get it something more readable, or is all stuff that hasn't ever had a high enough priority to actually do that. We have the stuff there, so for particular customer issues and stuff like that, we tell them to turn it on and send us this 3 GB file, and then I import it into a FileMaker database and have different set of tools to figure out what's going on, or try to figure out what's going on.
We just need that FileMaker database.
Oh, it doesn't look. It's not a very good GUI that I put on it. It's really pretty raw.
Go ahead.
In the upcoming FileMaker server with LLM models, local on the server, does that mean that the processing is being done on the server? And does that also mean that we're going to need servers with more GPU power to power that?
I know nothing about
Okay.
AI, so I'm out of this question.
We have Wade.
Yeah. So for the LM, good question. The thing is, we already introduced the open source model server actually the last release. So, but at that time, I think most of you only use the embedding vectors, which don't take that much CPU, GPU, or memory. So if when you use something big, technically speaking, it might be good to have it on a separate machine. Otherwise, it might fight. The first one you notice probably is the memory. Yeah. If for the GPU side on Mac, we try to use the you probably familiar with the MLX, the accelerator, and the CPU we also try to use accelerator. So we are looking for, say, for the Ubuntu side, probably later, not this release, later we also including the GPU support. So for now, if you say you're doing something heavy, say you are doing a fine tuning, might be good you just install the open source model server on a separate box, or you use some box which hardware is very capable. Yeah. Thank you.
There.
I just follow up on that. One thing that would be really helpful would be some specifications or recommendations.
There's a mic behind you.
Yeah, I guess just along that lines, tech note eventually as we're looking at deploying these on which technologies that we are available in cloud servers or local on-prem servers that we should be targeting to maximize the performance, so we're not just guessing and trying different combinations. So
I think, yeah, good suggestion. Maybe I think we can consider later on have some engineering block on that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Here and we can use it.
Oh, me again?
He's a young engineer.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. You were talking about the new custom URL for the homepage and so forth, but it's fine to change the URL. But do you have guidance or so forth in actually what the homepage should contain in terms of interaction between databases and so forth? Is there a framework for that? So what the actual content of the new homepage should be, or do we just basically take a copy of what the current one is and then remap that?
You take.
Does that make sense?
You want to take that?
Don't take it.
Custom homepage.
Wade can do that.
So I think your question is can you take anything for your custom homepage?
Well,
Right.
yes, but then what do I need to have on the custom homepage? Like, what is the important stuff for FileMaker server? Do you have a guide or a template for that to start?
Oh, so you can answer remember the library.
What's the
on.
content that goes at that URL?
Okay, the purpose is that some of our customers want to design their own homepage instead of using our FileMaker native launch center. So in order to get the custom home URL working, they need to, first, of course, they need to integrate our JavaScript library to handle everything like database, database list, and authentication to open the database. They need to do some, they need to integrate our library into and with their design for the.
Is that documented?
I think we have some documents. Maybe we can ask our QA Marcel. We have some documents. However, this is the custom home URL. I think we have documents for the custom home URL,
Great.
but for the integration of the OAuth, like OAuth authentication, you might need to contact our QA for more info because that requires the integration of our JavaScript library.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I
That's
think
important.
we provide document when first time we release the JavaScript library.
Okay, great.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I was just saying, I can answer that for you. The purpose of the homepage is just to hide FileMaker.
I know. Yeah.
So we just have our logo
Yep.
and a button that's like re-log in. It just takes them back to logging in
Gotcha.
to the solution.
Yeah, I guess there's more functionality because there are things that you might want to do that is not just about a simple button. There's obviously functionality on the current launch page. I think it's great to be able to just send them back to a company page.
Right.
But there's a gap between just having a button to go back into the system versus whatever it might be, because there's a lot more interpretation you can do. So it's
Lion
good to
has a
know.
blog on it, so you
Oh,
can
they
do
do?
authentication and stuff right from that homepage in.
Cool, perfect. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
You mentioned support for Ubuntu 24. Will there be support for Windows Server 2025 in the next version?
Not immediately in 2020, in the 2025 release,
Okay.
but we'll be looking into that. Windows is a default. We always do our best to support it. So.
Thanks.
You mentioned that you're doing away with a thread pool and switching to a dispatch queue for several processing things. I think the scripting engine and the data API. Does that mean there will be less concurrency and less utilization of multiple processing cores in a server? Does that mean that from a specification standpoint, we would be better off with fewer, faster cores?
Yeah, good question. So technically speaking, when we switch to dispatch queue, that will use the multiple core more efficiently.
Okay, so there's still a thread pool on the other side of the queue that's pulling those off and
That's right.
multiple worker threads?
That's right. That's
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So in a way, if you upgrade your hardware, you will see the difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? There we go. Derek is our engineer, so if you have questions, you can also ask him when you can catch him. He's running.
I wonder if this question was already asked, but would there be a possibility to extend the support cycle for a FileMaker server version, like an LTS version or something? Because currently we face the issue that support cycle is a bit short. For example, with the bug in 21, 19 was end of life last Christmas, and 20 will be end of life this summer. Most clients don't want to be on the very last version, but on a version previous. And I kind of feel like the timeline is very tight.
Yes, I looked into that specifically in the last couple of months, especially I had a conversation with Mr. Duncan Baker as well. I'm getting feedback, and it would be really good to get to know where you guys are. And there's a possibility we'll do that. Right now, we haven't really get there yet. We are looking for potential long-term support. Yeah.
Okay, that would be
Yes.
great. Then a
Yes.
second question.
Yes.
We can now easily upgrade from an older version to a newer version, but the problem is as soon as you realize there is a critical bug in a newer version, it's very difficult to downgrade again.
is it not possible when you reinstall an older version to keep the settings in as long as it's possible, of course? Is there any possibility of that?
That's a tough question. Do we have the answers at this moment?
I think it's something that we can look into.
Yeah.
We haven't had too many requests for that recently. Well, I guess recently we've been getting more as we've been looking into this long-term stuff. So it's going to be added to our queue of things to consider.
Yeah.
It took a while to get I'm just so amazed at how well I can do upgrades now without it breaking all the time. So at least going one direction. But that took quite a bit of work to go backwards too. Hopefully it wouldn't be as hard. But when you're dealing with these installers and stuff like that, it's always weird things that are going on and these edge conditions that keep catching you. But no, I'm sure it's something that can be done. It's just getting it up in the priority queue is something that we need to do. So we'll make sure that I'll make sure Marcel writes up a ticket and he'll probably assign it to me and then I'll find someone else to write it to. So.
Do you want to say something?
If you uninstall the FileMaker server, we keep that setting. So and then since we are keep the setting, if you use installing the older version, previous version of FileMaker, it will integrate with the setting you have already. So you can actually downgrade with that setting.
Okay, so you run the uninstaller on the
Yes.
current version and then run the older installer.
It will pick up the setting.
Yeah, when you uninstall, it leaves a lot of the configuration files all laying there. And the configuration files haven't changed that drastically, so it should be able to pick up those settings again and hopefully ignore any new settings that it doesn't know about. And they're usually in some type of key store format, so new settings would just be junk laying around in the preference files that those older versions know what to do with or know what to do with them.
Thank you. There. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, we have an issue. I know it's not a known bug right now, but it's actually not a FileMaker bug. It's something created because we're using automatics tools to do a migration build to the system. Kind of they get a clone of the file, they put on the server, then use the data migration tool to migrate the data. When the file is encrypted, then they open the file, but when you restart the server, FileMaker kind of doesn't match the encryption key with the file ID, and now you cannot open the files. Then, I don't know if that's the known issue right now, or we have anything with automatic or proof guys people to solve this, but I asked them, they know it's a known issue, but we don't have a solution right now. Do you hear about that?
Yeah.
I don't know, I had a long conversation with Todd yesterday and he didn't mention that, so.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna check that.
I don't.
Can I get your phone number?
I don't, well, yeah, just, if you talk to Todd, tell him to tell us,
Yeah.
he probably knows what's going on and can.
Yeah, he knows. He told me
Yeah.
he knows, and they say that there is a known issue, but it is
Marcel
inconvenient.
isn't like saying, oh, I know what that is, so, so.
Yeah,
it's somewhere that we need to maybe poke Todd again to poke us.
Yes, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. We'll get hold of you. Can you write to cbugs@claris.com in case we miss each other?
Question for the brain trust here. So my clients are having a problem in WebDirect with the copy and paste in two fields. And I just want to confirm the quick and only fix for that is to upgrade to server 21.1.3. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
That's
okay. I
correct.
see nodding over here, so that's.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Yeah, I know that we fixed some other thing where like a blank space was getting added or deleted too. So we've been fixing more copy and paste stuff with WebDirect recently also.
It only happened in the past 2 weeks, I guess, with the browsers
yeah.
and stuff. And
It was introduced by the
Chrome.
browser upgrade.
yeah.
Yeah, browser changed the rendering.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
The OS browsers have been changing and they behave differently now, so we're having to respond to what they're doing. So
We fixed that bug in 21.1.3.
Yes. And
Last
that's the
week,
only
yes.
fix for it. Yeah. Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions?
well, I guess I'll probably be up in the museum if you want to ask me. So.
We're in the process of upgrading, but we're running 18 client, 19 server, and our WebDirect keeps crashing and everybody's blaming everybody else. And I've searched all kinds of logs. I did see this thing about thread leaks. Is it possible it's connected? We are using APIs and ODBC and all kinds of stuff.
But you're saying you're using version 18 of server?
18 client,
18 clients.
19 server.
Okay.
And we're periodically we're unable to track it down. I've looked at logs. I looked at the IIS logs. I've looked at the FileMaker server logs. I'm not really sure where to look.
Well, we've been fixing a lot of WebDirect issues
We're
and
on
server
our way.
issues.
We're working our way
Yeah.
there, but for the meantime.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what to say other than to upgrade to the
21.1.
the stuff where we fixed all these issues. Because it's really hard to go back and build some of these previous things because I can't even run the operating systems on the newest Macs to build those versions anymore. Apple's really getting hard. They keep upgrading hardware so fast that I can't rebuild even version 19.3 anymore.
We're on Windows.
Yeah, oh, you're on Windows? Okay. Now, that's a little bit easier, but yeah.
Well, that's our session today. So we have our engineers, Derek, Wade, Masao, Joseph, Wade, and Zhonghan. Ask them questions when you can catch them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.